Hello and welcome to this week's edition of Dream Car Garage. Today in Dream Car Garage you're going to be looking at MPVs, well one MPV in particular. It's an MPV by Honda called the FRV. Now I like it when car makers decide to go their own way and do things a little bit differently. And that's what Honda's done with this particular car. Alright, I'm just going to walk around now on the FRV. Now, I quite like the look of this car. Now, looks are always going to be something very, very subjective. But this car looks squat, chunky. In particular, I like the shape around the rear quarter there. Just looks really muscular and strong. It's a car that you could buy even if you didn't necessarily have to have 6 seats. I mean, I think it's just a quite cool, funky thing. Honda don't make this particular car anymore, but it's a shame because I would like to have seen it develop over time to see what it could become. It would have been great to see even. I think this would have worked well. A Type R version, imagine that with a set of big fat Type R wheels, lowered down a little bit. So for me, it's quite a funky looking shape. It doesn't sit too high, so it feels very car-like once inside, but I don't know. Tell me what you think. I think it's a pretty cool looking car. It's kind of raked, hunched up, leans slightly forward, which gives it a sporty appeal. It's got 16-inch alloy wheels, quite a deep angular front bumper, which kind of looks kind of racy. Big bold Honda sign, rake back lights. Looks-wise, it's only a preference. I think it looks great. Let's take the camera inside. Okay. Right, once inside, it's nice smelling here. Once inside, the unusualness of there being 3 seats abreast, it quickly goes away, and within a nanosecond, it just feels quite normal. The seat at the front here can either be something you put your folder on, something like that. It just becomes a useful thing. Now I've sat in this seat, and I'll try and get into it again. Not quite sure if you can still see me. You could get an adult in here, but ideally the feet would need to go in the middle console. You could scooch your seat back, but then that becomes quite a narrow seat. So I'd say the front middle seat is probably more a child seat, up to maybe 10, 12, 13, 14, obviously depending on how big the child is. That's who could reasonably fit in the middle. Any bigger than that, you'll start to encroach on the driving position. But it's useful nonetheless. I think you have to call it a child seat. But its practicality is quite cool because you can move it forward and backwards, and the top can flip down, and then you have a conventional full-size seat further over to the left. Right, now, initial impression is just, once you get inside here, is that it feels like a really high-quality item. It feels like a quality thing. Obviously, you have the wood here, which isn't really wood. It looks like sort of a fake metal laminate pattern thing. But, even though I know it's probably not real, it does look quite nice. It does seem to complement the cabin quite well. It does give a nice air of quality to it. Wood mixed with some very decent plastics. Plastics look very good, and it feels very well screwed together. The doors shut with a reassuring thud. It's nice. It's not the highest spec one, but it's still pretty good. So initial impressions, I like what I see. It's a comfortable place to be. All I'm going to do now is turn the engine on. I think the beeps because I have not got my seatbelt on. The engine in this is very quiet. You hear it a little bit now, but I drove it a little bit earlier on, and it drives really, I mean, to be honest with you, within a few miles you can't really tell that it's a diesel. So what we're going to do now is going to take it for a bit of a spin and talk you through a little bit what it's like, and then while I'm driving I'll turn the camera around so you get an idea of the roads we're driving down. Okay, I put my seatbelt on already. Yeah, the first thing that comes across to you straight away with this car is once you're up on the... What's that beep for? Once you're up and on a bit of a run, it quietens down quite a bit. The ride's nice and compliant. It's soaking at the bumps. We're in a nice country lane here. Now I've driven this particular engine before in a Honda Civic, and to be fair, it did feel quicker in the Honda Civic than it does in this. but it's not a sports car. I'm not going to try and sort of delude you into believing somehow this is a sports car, but it's a nice family car that you can hustle at a decent rate. And considering it's a diesel, it's got a nice turn of speed. Okay, I'm just going to bit of a straight here, put my foot down a bit, flat down. Do you know what? If you put your foot down with some aggression, it does shift. It picks up slight delay at the beginning. I guess the turbo spool up, but then you get a nice whoosh of torque that carries you along. It's nice. Again, the things that help make you feel this is a really quality item is, in particular, the fact that it's well soundproofed, and so you're not hearing the coarseness of the engine, even though it is a relatively quiet engine. It's soaking up bumps quite well, so it's quite compliant. It feels comfortable, and I love the feeling of space. Even as I stretch my arm out, I'm only going halfway across the passenger seat nearest the door, so it's got a nice feeling of space. Steering is very nicely weighted. It's two hands to turn, not so much a one finger thing, but it feels meaty without being clumsy or heavy, which is a nice combination. So far, I'm quite impressed with it, to be honest with you. It's handled its business very well indeed. Smooth, very comfortable, quiet, compliant ride. Not a sports car, but then it's not really meant to be, is it? The engine note for a diesel is very quiet, but there's still, especially on the acceleration, you can't disguise the fact that it is a diesel. But because it's diesel, you've got a nice swell of torque. It picks up from low revs in a high gear fairly well. You don't always have to drop down, but if you want to really give it some, obviously there's no, you have to drop down into the power band, but it's got a decent slug of torque, it pulls fairly well. Once you are up and running and just cruising, not necessarily stamping hard on the throttle, it is quite quiet. It's very easy to forget you're in a natural diesel. Got a chance to open up a little bit. I mean, this is not a slow car. 140 bhp. A few years ago, that was your top whack from a very decent hot hatch. In fourth gear, nice strong surge, and you're up at motorway speeds, and if you want, beyond in no time at all. And now we're just back down, cruising at motorway speeds, and it's fairly quiet. I can hear myself talk very easily. I'm hearing some tyre roar, but it's not overly intrusive. Nice. So what have we got then? We've got a 6-seat car. I mean, the big thing we've made, why 6 seats? But to be honest with you, why 7? Who decided that all of a sudden having 7 seats was what families needed? I mean, most families have a mother, father and 5 kids. Well, not really. So I guess the amount of seats is just how much you think is cleverly used inside the space. So I think 6 seats is fair enough. Mum, dad, a couple of kids, and even a couple of the child's mates. So 6 seats seems perfectly adequate. It's inside, to my eyes, a visually interesting looking package. It would have been great to see a sports version of this, Type R version, and that would have been fantastic, just for the sheer sake of having something that would be akin to one of my favourite cars, which was Vauxhall Zafira GSI. Something in that kind of ilk would have been great to see. Or even a tuned version of this diesel engine. This diesel engine developed somewhere in the region of 140 bhp, which is quite a decent amount for a car of this size, and it never feels slow. So, but even so, what have we got? We've got a very nice, high quality package. Honda have screwed this together very, very well indeed. Looks good. It drives well. The seat configuration you get used to that pretty quick, and it then becomes quite a nice practical touch to have a seat at the front in the middle that can double over and be a bench with massive storage underneath. The driving position is quite nice. I'm not sat too high, so I don't feel like I'm sat on the car. I'm sat quite in it. The gear lever on the dashboard, that takes a little getting used to. I'm a bit lazy. I like to have my hand hanging down, but within about 5 minutes of driving it, it just feels very natural. I don't, it feels like that's what it's supposed to be, and it feels strong, like it can never break type strong, and it's very decisive. So it's a nice gearbox and a nice gear change, and it seems nicely placed. Nice car. So for a small MPV, my marks out of 10, I like it. I'm going to give it 7 marks out of 10. A strong 7 marks out of 10. A very good effort by Honda. Shame they don't still make this vehicle. I think I would have liked to see it develop over the years. But yeah, very good effort. 7 out of 10. And remember, that's it, signing off. Remember, don't just dream it, drive it.